Coming up on Mountain News this morning, a procession was held after a deadly shooting claimed the lives of 3 people and left multiple others critically injured. And ABC has suspended Jimmy Kimmel's late night show indefinitely following comments he made about Charlie Kirk's killing.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News this morning.
Good morning, I'm Caroline Mueller. The time is now 6 a.m. and today's date is Thursday, September 18th. Let's check in with meteorologist Megan Dusmal for a look at your forecast this morning. It's hard to believe that fall starts on Monday, Megan. It has just been absolutely hot out there.
Yeah, it's been kind of brutal, I'm not gonna lie, but as we head through the next couple days, it's just gonna get hotter, which again, hard to believe as we are inching closer to the first day of fall. But in terms of what we are seeing outside the door here is what it's looking like. Satellite and radar is nice and clear, so it's great weather if you wanna look up at the stars before the sun starts to rise in the next hour. Current temperatures sitting in a mixture of the 50s. Some folks even seeing a chance of the 60-degree mark being hit. 63 in Monticello, 61 in Moorhead and Prestonsburg, and 60 in Pikeville and Jackson. But for this afternoon, we'll be looking at a mixture of the mid to upper 80s. Definitely a hotter day, with some folks having the chance of hitting that 90-degree mark. But if you're heading off to Black Gold Festival today, you'll see the warmest temperatures in the early afternoon hours with plenty of sunshine. Caroline.
Megan, thank you. 2 men convicted in connection with Crystal Rogers' death were sentenced yesterday. Brooks Hawk was sentenced to life in prison for conspiracy to murder and 5 years for tampering with evidence. Joseph Lawson was sentenced to 20 years for conspiracy to murder and 5 years for tampering with evidence, with those sentences to be served consecutively. Stephen Lawson, Joseph's father, was sentenced to 17 years in prison earlier this year. Rogers disappeared in 2015. Her body has not been found. A procession was held after a deadly shooting claimed the lives of 3 people and left multiple others critically injured. The York County coroner confirmed that the office was called to the scene of an officer-involved shooting on the 1800 block of Har Road that took place around 2:10 p.m. Pennsylvania State Police stated that 5 officers were shot during the incident and that 3 of those officers died. 2 other officers were hospitalized and are reportedly in critical condition. Soon, President Trump will bid farewell to the King and Queen of the United Kingdom after receiving the royal treatment at a lavish welcoming ceremony and state dinner yesterday. Next, he heads to the UK's Prime Minister's country home for high-level talks on economic cooperation between the 2 nations. The 2 leaders are expected to hold a public news conference later today. CBS News' Jared Hill has more on the president's UK trip from New York.
Following Wednesday's royal welcome filled with pageantry and praise at Windsor Castle,
the bond of kinship and identity between America and the United Kingdom is priceless and eternal.
Today, President Trump is trading pomp for policy as he leaves King Charles and Queen Camilla and heads to the country home of UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer. Their high-level meetings with trade expected to top the agenda.
I believe we're the hottest country anywhere in the world.
Already, the 2 countries have announced a tech partnership on AI and emerging technologies with U.S. CEOs from companies like Apple, OpenAI, and NVIDIA there to pledge billions of dollars in investment. The 2 countries say that deal will bring thousands of jobs to the U.S. and the U.K.
America is our special ally.
While some praise outside castle walls,
And we love Trump.
crowds protested President Trump's visit.
I dislike everything that Trump and his administration represent just around the globe.
The pushback fueled in part by President Trump's ties to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein and his handling of the war in Gaza. The conflict in the Middle East and Russia's war in Ukraine are also expected to come up during today's talks between the president and prime minister. Jared Hill, CBS News.
While President Trump meets with Prime Minister Starmer, First Lady Melania Trump will spend the morning at events hosted by Queen Camilla and Princess Kate. 3.5 years into Russia's war against Ukraine, peace is as far away as ever. One Republican congressman is calling on President Donald Trump to do more to defend Ukraine against Russia. Nebraska Representative Don Bacon says he is a Ronald Reagan-style Republican who is deeply concerned about the future of the world order. He supports any legislative sanctioning of Russia and its allies, as well as arming Ukraine.
China and India are largely propping up the Russian economy, and they're propping up a war against a democracy. I'm the first Republican to get on a Democrat bill to discharge one, to force a vote on the floor.
Bacon went on to say he thought the U.S. would be impacted if Russian President Vladimir Putin continued down the current path. Bacon announced earlier this year he would not run for re-election in one of the country's most competitive swing districts in Nebraska. Classes resumed yesterday at Utah Valley University, 1 week after conservative influencer Charlie Kirk was shot and killed on the school's campus. An increased police presence is visible on campus. The school has gone through a phased reopening, with staff and faculty returning to campus Monday. A vigil for unity will be conducted at the school Friday afternoon. ABC has suspended Jimmy Kimmel's late-night show indefinitely following comments he made about Charlie Kirk's killing. Kimmel has not commented yet. President Trump called it, quote, great news. Kimmel, like CBS late host Stephen Colbert, has consistently been critical of the president and many of his policies. CBS said earlier this year it was canceling Colbert's show at the end of this season for financial reasons. Lawmakers are pushing for universal paid leave this week. Connecticut Representative Rosa DeLauro, New York Senator Kristen Gillibrand reintroduced the Family Act to guarantee up to 12 weeks of partial income for workers. Washington correspondent Emma Wolfhurst has the details.
Washington, D.C. native Kimberly Mitchell knows what it feels like to need paid leave.
I had made a choice. The choice was that I was going to do both. I chose to work and to try to take care of my mother.
She was a recently divorced working mother of a 7-year-old when her mom was diagnosed with breast cancer. And in July of 2024, she was in a car accident.
In the midst of all of that, I had no insurance. I had insurance, but I had no benefits.
Mitchell joined a group of Democratic lawmakers Tuesday to push for a permanent national paid family and medical leave program.
You can't get tired. You can't give up. And you just keep at it.
Right now, 73% of American workers do not have access to paid leave, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. The Center for American Progress data shows working families lose $22.5 billion per year in wages due to a lack of paid family and medical leave.
The United States is still the only developed country in the entire world that does not have a national paid leave program.
That's why they reintroduced the Family and Medical Insurance Leave Act. It would provide workers with paid leave for a range of major life events, like recovering from a serious health condition, caring for a family member, bonding with a new child, or taking safe leave to respond to domestic violence, sexual assault, or stalking.
It is many families out there, as we know, who are losing their family care, their health care, their child care, and cannot take care of their health.
Right now, 13 states and D.C. have mandatory paid leave policies. DeLauro and Gillibrand say their Democratic leadership is in tune with them, and they're actively working toward bipartisan support. In Washington, Emma Wolfhurst.
The Federal Reserve announced the first interest rate cut of the year. Policymakers voted to lower a key interest rate 1/4 percentage point, and they signaled 2 more cuts are likely later this year. The move is designed to keep the economy growing by making it less expensive to borrow money. Economists say that could encourage businesses to hire more workers and bolster the labor market. The Kentucky auditor claims an exam found that more than $800 million of taxpayer money was unnecessarily spent on Medicaid payments. Auditor Allison Ball released the information yesterday. In her report, Ball said the $800 million of taxpayer money was wasted. The report says the DMS did not take the basic steps needed to not duplicate payments made by other states. Ball says the payments occurred between January of 2019 and 2022. We are hearing from London's former city attorney just days after he was fired. Larry Bryson was fired on Monday morning. Bryson told the Lexington Herald later the city's new mayor fired him for insubordination. He said he expected to be let go, claiming multiple council members didn't want him to be the city attorney. Bryson said he expects more city employees to be terminated.
We're looking at nice and clear skies in terms of rainfall. However, we are still seeing a little bit of fog picked up this morning. Here's a look at the couple of cameras across eastern Kentucky. A little bit of a haze in Pikeville Hazard. Seeing a little bit, some lower visibility, but not too bad compared to yesterday. Temperatures across the region sitting in a mixture of the mid to upper 50s. Some folks hitting that 60-degree mark like Pikeville, 60 degrees. This afternoon, though, we will see the mid to upper 80s. Definitely a warm day as we normally sit at about 78 degrees. In terms of rain, just as I mentioned, nice and clear all day long. We'll be looking at a mixture of mostly sunny to sunny skies. Caroline.
Thank you, Megan, and thank you for joining Mountain News this morning. More news is on the way. A new addition in Jackson County, West Virginia is adding a layer of protection for schools. We'll have those details.